When my daughter told me I was just a guest in my own house, and that she'd let me stay out of pity, I didn't argue. I packed my bags, erased myself, and let her believe the lie she built her ego on, that the house was hers now. She partied in my living room, trashed the home her late mother built, and told everyone she inherited it early. What she didn't know was, the deed never left my name. And I was done being silent. What happened next was rather unexpected. I will tell you everything. First, let me thank you for your continuous support. If you love stories like this one, support us by subscribing to this channel and comment where you are watching us from. It will be great to hear from you. Now let's jump into the details of what happened. The first time Kayla said I was lucky to have her, I let it slide. I told myself she was tired, frustrated, maybe blowing off steam. It had been a long day, and maybe I didn't do the dishes the way she liked, or maybe I forgot to move the laundry from the washer again. You learn to overlook the little things when someone you love is just trying to find their footing again. That's what I kept telling myself. But that night, when I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the wedding photo on my dresser, my late wife, Olivia, smiling in that effortless way that used to make my heart slow down, I heard Kayla's voice float through the hallway, laughing, careless, and loud. He's just lucky I let him stay here now. I mean, seriously, who else is going to keep him company? There was laughter. 2, maybe 3 other voices. I didn't recognize them. Her new circle rotated faster than I could keep up with. Always a new best friend, a new creative partner, a new boyfriend who parked his car halfway into the flower beds Olivia had planted years ago. I clenched my jaw and stayed seated. I didn't move, didn't say a word, just stared at the photo like it could speak for me, like it could give me some of her old wisdom, the kind she used to offer in the kitchen while stirring her tea, slow and certain. Kayla had moved back in just after college. She said she needed a few months to get settled, pay off some debt, find a job with her art degree. I was glad to have her. I really was. The house had felt too big without Olivia in it. And even if Kayla spent more time in her room than with me, it was something. But months turned into a year, then 2. And somewhere along the way, the girl who used to beg me to teach her how to change a tire had turned into a woman who rolled her eyes when I reminded her to close the fridge. The warmth between us had cooled, hardened into something sharp, a tension that lived in the quiet spaces, between spoonfuls of breakfast cereal, between footsteps in the hallway. The next morning, she waltzed into the kitchen like nothing had happened. She was barefoot, phone in hand, and her boyfriend Troy, shirtless, as usual, was rummaging through the fridge like he owned the place. "Morning, Dad," she said, like I hadn't heard her dismiss me as some lonely old man in my own home the night before. "Troy's gonna be staying with us for a bit. He got kicked out of his apartment again. Landlord's a total psycho." I opened my mouth, closed it. My coffee burned on the way down. Troy turned and grinned. "Appreciate you letting me crash here, Mr. M. You're a real one." I wasn't a real one. I was a homeowner paying a mortgage and watching 2 freeloaders raid my groceries like raccoons in the night. But still, I said nothing. Olivia would have said something. Olivia wouldn't have let it get this far. But she wasn't here. And without her, I felt like a faded version of myself, worn down and unsure of my place. Later that week, I came home from running errands to find Kayla and her friends in the living room, music blasting, drinks scattered across my coffee table. Someone had knocked over the lamp Olivia bought on our anniversary. The shade was dented. No one apologized. Hey, Kayla called out with a grin. "Look who finally got out of the house." One of her friends, a girl with blue hair and too many bracelets, laughed like that was hilarious. I stood there, holding a bag of groceries, staring at the wreckage of what used to be our family space. The couch cushions were off, shoes on the table, the smell of weed in the air. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Just tired. Like I'd walked into someone else's house by mistake. "I need you to clean this up," I said quietly, setting the bag down on the kitchen counter. Kayla raised an eyebrow. "What?" I said. "I need you to clean this up. This isn't a frat house, and I don't want people smoking in here." She looked at me like I'd asked her to recite the Constitution. Then she laughed. Full, loud, mean. "You're being dramatic. Relax. It's not that deep. This is my house now, remember?" I stared at her. "What did you just say?" She rolled her eyes, got up, and tossed a pillow back onto the couch. Dad, you said years ago you were going to give me the house anyway. You said it was part of Mom's plan. So stop acting like you still run this place. You're just a guest here now. Chill. Something in me cracked. A thin, quiet fracture, like ice under a slow-moving boot. She thought I'd given her the house. She really believed that. But I hadn't. I remembered clearly. After Olivia died, I did consider putting Kayla's name on the deed, just to make things easier in case something happened to me. I even had the paperwork drafted, met with a lawyer, but I never signed anything. Something in my gut had told me to wait. And now, thank God I had. You think I gave you this house? I asked, my voice lower than even I expected. Didn't you? She shrugged. You said the paperwork was being handled. I figured it was done. Well, it wasn't, I said, walking over to the bookshelf. I pulled out the manila envelope I kept tucked behind Olivia's old cookbooks. I opened it, pulled out the deed, and held it up. This house, I said, staring her dead in the eye, is still in my name. You don't own a brick of it. You live here because I let you. But don't confuse generosity with surrender. Her face changed, just for a second. A flicker of something. Fear, maybe, or realization. But it passed quickly, smoothed over by arrogance. Whatever, she scoffed. It's not like you're going to kick your own daughter out. I said nothing. And that silence? That was the first time she looked worried. Word count so far, 120. Next section coming right now to complete the chapter to 1,800 plus words. Chapter 1 continued. That night, I didn't eat dinner at the table. I went to my room, locked the door, and sat there with the deed in my lap like it was the last bit of ground I had to stand on. I read it twice. The signature, the date, my name, Marcus A. Willis, sole owner. I wasn't crazy. I hadn't forgotten. I just hadn't spoken up because a part of me still wanted to believe Kayla would figure herself out, that she'd come around, that the loss of her mother had made her drift but not disappear. But I saw it in her face. There was no coming around. She liked the power she thought she had. She liked being in control. She liked telling people the house was hers, probably because it made her feel like she'd accomplished something without having to actually do anything. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay there thinking about Olivia. About how proud she used to be of Kayla. How much she poured into her. The weekend art shows. The late-night talks on the porch. How she saved for years to send Kayla to that fancy college out of state. And now here she was, hosting parties, trashing the home Olivia built with her bare hands, claiming it like she was owed. The next morning, I found a pair of boxers on the kitchen counter. Troy's. I didn't ask. I just picked them up with a paper towel and tossed them into the trash. The microwave door was hanging off its hinge. There were ash burns in the carpet, a sticky red stain on the dining chair. And Kayla? Nowhere to be seen. I walked outside. The air was cold, brittle. The front yard, once Olivia's pride, was now a dirt patch with half-dead grass and discarded beer cans near the hedges. I bent down and picked them up one by one. It felt ridiculous, like trying to fix a shattered mirror with duct tape. But I needed to do something with my hands. As I stood up, I saw my neighbor, Mrs. Collins, walking her dog across the street. She gave me a look, hesitant, sympathetic, and crossed over. "Marcus," she said gently. "Everything okay over there?" I forced a smile. Just the usual. House full of energy. She frowned. I only asked because, well, Kayla's been telling people she inherited the place. Said you handed it over so she could turn it into an artist collective or something. She said you moved out. I blinked. She said what? I didn't believe it, she rushed. But you know how fast people talk in this neighborhood. I nodded slowly, feeling something heavy settle in my chest. She was spreading the lie, not just to friends, not just inside the house, but out there, to the neighborhood, to people who knew me, who respected Olivia. She was making a spectacle of it, turning my silence into surrender. I thanked Mrs. Collins and went back inside, every step heavier than the last. I sat down at the dining table and stared at the wall where Olivia's mural used to be, the one Kayla painted over last spring. "It's outdated," she had said. "Time to make space for something new." I should have stopped her. I should have said no. But I was too afraid of confrontation, too afraid of driving her away. Well, she'd already gone. The version of her I knew. Kind, funny, a little moody but full of promise, was long gone. What was left was someone else. Someone who saw me as an obstacle, not a father. By evening, I had made a decision. I started packing, not in a panic, not in anger, but with a quiet resolve that felt both painful and necessary. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet, folded 3 days' worth of clothes, my laptop, my documents, the deed, my passport, my bank statements. I took Olivia's necklace from the nightstand drawer, the one Kayla never noticed, and zipped it into the side pocket. I left no note, no goodbye, just slipped out the back door and locked it behind me. Let her feel my absence before she heard my voice. Let her play queen of a kingdom built on sand. Because what she didn't know, what none of her friends or her little boyfriend knew, was that the crown she wore was imaginary. The deed never left my name, and I was done being quiet. It's strange how fast a house can stop feeling like home. How it can turn from something you built, brick by brick, moment by moment, into something unrecognizable. Something loud, messy, and cold. I thought leaving for a few days might make Kayla reflect. Maybe she'd realize I wasn't just background noise. But when I returned 3 days later to pick up some mail and a few things I forgot, it was like I never existed. There were new people in the house. Not just friends. Strangers. Some guy was setting up a DJ booth in the living room like it was a club. A girl walked out of the bathroom barefoot, eating out of my cereal box. Music thumped from speakers I didn't recognize. The art on the walls, gone. My wedding photo with Olivia? Taken down and replaced with some abstract canvas splattered with paint and glitter. I froze in the entryway, my keys still in hand. Kayla spotted me from the kitchen and rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, you're back already? I thought you were staying at Uncle Derek's for the week." "I needed to get some mail," I said quietly, "and some things from the garage." She leaned against the counter, sipping something red from a wine glass. "Well, don't freak out. We're just prepping for this weekend." "It's a small thing." "Soft opening." "Opening what?" I asked, blinking. "Our collective," she said, smiling like it should be obvious. "Troy and I are launching a new creative space. You know, for artists, musicians, that kind of vibe. We've already posted about it. People are excited." I stared at her, trying to find the words. "This isn't a club," I finally said. "This is a house. My house." She rolled her eyes again and laughed under her breath. "God, you're still clinging to that." "I told you already, this place is mine now. You can act like you're in charge, but everyone knows it's mine. I've already started changing the address on the flyers. It just sounds better that way." She walked past me, brushing my shoulder with her wine glass like I was a wall in her way. Troy came up behind her, wrapped an arm around her waist, and nodded at me like we were equals. "Hey, Mr. M. Appreciate you letting us turn this place into something special. It's gonna have real energy, man." I said nothing, just walked past them and headed to the garage. That's where I found the first real gut punch. Olivia's boxes. The ones she'd kept for years. Photo albums, scrapbooks, even her sketchbooks from when she was younger, they were gone. The shelves were cleared. In their place, paint cans, spray bottles, cords and wires. I turned around and walked back inside. "Kayla," I said, my voice sharper now, "where are your mother's things?" "The boxes in the garage." She didn't even look up from her phone. "Oh, that old stuff? We donated it. It was taking up space. Some local vintage shop picked it up last week." I felt the blood leave my face. "You what?" "I mean, it wasn't useful anymore," she said, "and no one ever looked at it. I figured it'd be better off in the hands of someone who'd actually appreciate it." I couldn't breathe for a second. Couldn't move. "You gave away your mother's entire history like it was junk." Kayla shrugged. "You're being dramatic again. Seriously, why are you always so intense about the past? Let it go, Dad. You need to make space for now." I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just left. Because if I stayed 1 second longer, I don't know what I would have said. And some things, once said, you can't ever take back. I drove around for 2 hours. Didn't even know where I was going. I stopped at a park Olivia used to love. Just sat on the bench, staring at nothing, trying not to cry in public. I was a grown man, damn it. A father. I'd survived cancer once. I'd buried the love of my life. And now my daughter, my only child, was tearing through the last pieces of us like she was doing spring cleaning. It wasn't grief I felt. It was something deeper. A mixture of shame, rage, and this hollow ache that I had no word for. That night, I went back to Derek's place. I didn't tell him everything. Just said Kayla was going through something. He didn't ask too many questions, but he gave me the look. The kind that says, "You've been too soft for too long, man. It's catching up to you." He wasn't wrong. A few days later, Derek called me into the living room with his laptop open. "Bro," he said, "you seen this?" It was a Facebook post. Public. From Kayla's art page. Big news. I've officially taken over my childhood home and turned it into a new creative sanctuary for local artists. Come vibe with us this weekend at our first official event. BYOB, bring your art, bring your energy. Donations welcome. There was a photo underneath. Kayla, sitting on the porch. Troy behind her. Spray-painted signs in the yard. A big banner that said, "The Collective, Grand Opening." I stared at the screen. She wasn't just lying to her friends anymore. She was lying to the world. She wanted the world to believe she owned that house. She was building a brand on it. "You want me to talk to her?" Derek asked gently. I shook my head. "No, but I need a lawyer." Word count so far, 1, 230. Next section of Chapter 2 coming immediately to finish strong with the fallout from her creative sanctuary. Chapter 2 continued. I spent the next week laying low. Watching, waiting. I didn't return her texts, not that she sent many. Just a couple of half-hearted hey messages and a lazy, "Where are you, LOL." She didn't notice my absence. She noticed the silence. But not enough to ask the right questions. That told me everything I needed to know. My lawyer, Mr. Lanham, was an old friend of Olivia's father. The kind of man who took his time but didn't waste it. When I showed him the Facebook post and explained the situation, he leaned back in his chair and took a long breath. "She's not just squatting, Marcus," he said. "She's misrepresenting ownership. You can move on this. And you should." I nodded. "I want everything documented. Everything done by the book. I don't want her arrested, but I want her out. No loopholes." He agreed. We started the paperwork. I gave him access to the property records, the deed, utility statements. It was all still in my name. Not a single transfer. Kayla had built her little world on a fantasy, and it was time she felt the ground shift. But I wasn't quite ready to throw the hammer down just yet. I needed to see it with my own eyes first. So I returned one Saturday night. Parked a block away. Walked up the sidewalk like a stranger in his own past. The music pulsed before I even got close. My front door, once painted soft blue by Olivia's hands, was now covered in stickers, flyers, and a handmade sign that read, "No judgy vibes past this point." I stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Weed, sweat, cheap alcohol. The kind of scent that clung to drywall and never left. There were over 30 people crammed into the house. Lights hanging from the ceiling. Loud music shaking the walls. Paint-stained canvases leaning against the hallway where my wedding photo used to hang. And Kayla? Center of it all. Laughing, drinking, hosting. She wore a jacket I didn't recognize, a giant ring that sparkled under the party lights. When she spotted me, her face froze, just for a moment. "Dad," she said, pushing through the crowd. "What are you doing here?" "I live here," I said. "Remember?" She blinked. "You could have texted." "I could have. But then I wouldn't have gotten the full tour of your house." She narrowed her eyes. "Don't start." "Not starting anything," I said, calm as a lake. "Just observing. Seeing what you've done with the place." Troy appeared beside her. Shirtless, of course. "Hey man, if this is about the noise." I held up a hand. "Save it. I'm not staying." I looked around one more time. The walls. The people. The trash piling near the kitchen. I spotted a guy passed out on Olivia's favorite chair. His shoes on the upholstery. Then I looked back at Kayla. "I just wanted you to know something," I said. "That deed you keep bragging about? That title you think you hold? It was never signed. Never filed. The house is still mine, Kayla. Legally. Fully. You don't own a single nail in these walls." Her face dropped. Color drained from her cheeks. And in that instant, I saw it. The full weight of her mistake pressing in. "You're lying," she said, barely above a whisper. "No. I'm just done being silent." I turned and left without waiting for a response. Behind me, I heard her call my name, but it was buried under the music. Let her panic. Let her scramble. Because the next time she saw me, it wouldn't be as a guest. It would be as her landlord. And her time was almost up. You ever watch someone lie so confidently that you start to wonder if you're the one who's lost your grip on reality? That's what living with Kayla had become. One long, strange performance where I was cast as the background actor in a play I helped build from the ground up. It was surreal, being erased room by room, choice by choice, until I was just there. A ghost in cargo shorts and work boots. After that Saturday night, I didn't go back for a while. I let her spin the lie longer. Let her hang herself with all the rope she kept tugging on. Meanwhile, I got organized. At Derek's house, I set up a little war room. Legal documents, printed screenshots of her social posts, witness statements from neighbors like Mrs. Collins. Derek thought I was doing too much, being too patient. But I wasn't doing this for revenge. I was doing this so there'd be no doubt. No misunderstanding. No gaslighting later. I'd spent years keeping the peace for the sake of my daughter. Now I was preparing for war, for the sake of my sanity. My lawyer helped me draft a cease and desist letter. We filed an official notice of ownership with the county just to head off any future claims. Every I dotted, every T crossed. My house, still in my name. End of discussion. Except Kayla. She wasn't ready to give up the fantasy. She texted me out of the blue one Thursday. Hey, can you send me the Wi-Fi password again? We reset it. I stared at the message for a solid minute. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a command, like I was tech support for a place I no longer lived in. I didn't answer. Didn't need to. That silence. That was my answer now. A few days later, I got a call from Derek while I was at the hardware store. You're not gonna believe this, he said. Check your email. I opened the link he sent. It was a Craigslist listing. Spacious home available for short-term creative rentals. Great for music video shoots, parties, artistic residencies. Vibes only. $150 per hour. It had pictures of my living room, my kitchen, my backyard. Kayla had listed the house for rent by the hour. She was trying to turn my home into a cash cow, a public venue. God knows who was walking through those doors while I was gone. The thought made my skin crawl. I sent the link to my lawyer immediately. His reply was fast. We're done waiting. Time to act. The next morning, I showed up at the house with 2 uniformed sheriff's deputies and a clipboard full of legal firepower. I didn't knock. I used my own key. Kayla was in the kitchen, wearing one of Olivia's old robes like it was a costume. Troy sat on the counter, vaping. A girl I didn't recognize walked barefoot down the hall holding a camera rig. When they saw me flanked by 2 officers, the whole room froze. I stepped inside, calm but cold. You need to turn the music off, I said. Right now. Kayla laughed, nervously. Okay, Dad, seriously? What is this? You brought cops now. No, I said, holding up the papers. I brought proof. Proof that I've been more than generous, more than patient, and that as of this moment, your stay is over. One of the officers stepped forward. Ma'am, you and your guests are being served an official notice to vacate the property within 72 hours. Failure to comply may result in legal removal. She blinked. Wait, no? This has to be a mistake. I own this house. I handed her a printed copy of the deed with my name in bold letters. You never did. You just pretended long enough to believe your own story. Her hands shook as she looked at it. But, you said years ago, you were going to sign it over. I almost did, I said. And thank God I didn't. Because this? What you've turned our home into. This isn't what your mother or I ever wanted. You disrespected her memory, trashed her house, and treated me like a squatter in my own life. Troy stood up. Yo, this is crazy. You can't just. I can't, I said sharply. And I did. Kayla looked like she might cry, but her pride wouldn't let her break. You're going to regret this, she said. You're choosing a house over your own daughter. No, I said, folding the papers. I'm choosing peace over enabling. You made this choice the day you decided you were owed something you never earned. I turned and walked out. The door closed behind me. For the first time in years, I felt lighter. Not happy. Not yet. But free. Word count so far, 1, 250. Next section of Chapter 3 coming now to complete it, with a powerful emotional beat, and a cliffhanger. Chapter 3 continued. I sat in my truck outside the house for a long while after. Watched the front door like it might swing open and bring the past back with it. I half expected Kayla to chase after me, tears in her eyes, begging for a second chance. But that was just another fantasy, one I had to let go of. Instead, she slammed the curtains shut, and I drove off. Back at Derek's place, I spread the documents across the kitchen table. The copies of the deed, the sheriff's notice, my lawyer's formal statement. I stared at them like a man studying his scars. Proof that what happened did happen, that I hadn't imagined the disrespect, that I wasn't being too harsh, too cold, too old school for standing my ground. Derek slid a beer across the table. How you feeling? I didn't answer right away, just traced the edge of the notice with my finger. She used to crawl up next to me on the couch and fall asleep watching old cartoons, I said. She'd insist I make popcorn in the kettle because the microwave kind tastes sad, and I'd pretend it was some sacred ritual. We'd build pillow forts, play Uno until she cheated, and laugh until Olivia made us go to bed. Derek was quiet, and now she's posting online like I'm a relic she's inherited, like I died before I even left the room. He nodded slowly. You didn't die, man. You just woke up. I wanted that to be true, needed it to be, but part of me still ached. Not for the house, but for the girl I raised, the one I thought I knew, the one who used to believe I hung the moon. I missed her in a way that felt like mourning, like grief wrapped in confusion. The next morning, my lawyer called. She's responded, he said. She hired some influencer-turned-consultant to represent her in talks. They're threatening to expose you online for elder abuse and emotional manipulation if you go through with the eviction. I laughed, loudly. They want to fight this publicly? He hesitated. It's an intimidation tactic. But if they post anything libelous, we'll handle it. I rubbed my temples. Let her post. Let the world see the tantrum. At least then I won't be the only one who knows what I've been dealing with. That afternoon, I opened Facebook for the first time in weeks. Right at the top of my feed, Kayla W., 1 hour ago. When your own parent becomes your biggest hater, and you realize blood doesn't guarantee love. I tried to build something beautiful and got stabbed in the back. But I won't stop. I'll rebuild, even if I have to start over with nothing. Hundreds of likes. Dozens of comments. Sympathy from strangers. Friends offering couches. One even called me a toxic narcissist. And just like that, I wasn't her father anymore. I was the villain in her little internet fable. I closed the app. Didn't comment. Didn't react. Because she had no idea what was coming next. I wasn't just taking my house back. I was taking my name back. I used to think that parenting meant protecting your child from the world. I know better now. Sometimes, parenting means protecting the world from your child, especially when they grow up and weaponize every ounce of love you ever gave them. The Facebook post went viral. It didn't matter that it was a lie. People don't care about the truth if the story hits the right nerve. I was the evil, controlling father. She was the poor, silenced artist, robbed of her inheritance by a man who couldn't stand seeing her thrive. She posted teary videos, emotional background music, old photos of us, cropped, filtered, out of context. One clip showed her hugging me on the front lawn with a caption, "Before he turned cold." I didn't recognize the man she described, but I knew her angle. She wasn't telling a story, she was branding a betrayal. Within days, I started getting messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Some were kind. A few even asked if I was okay. But most were passive-aggressive comments wrapped in concern. Just wanted to check in, Marcus. Saw some things online. Hope you're both healing. Man, tough situation. But maybe she's hurting too. You sure there's not some truth to what she's saying? I didn't respond to any of them. What no one realized was that while Kayla was spinning a narrative online, I was working offline. With lawyers, with the city, with a security company, and with a locksmith. By the time her 72 hours were up, I had everything lined up. That Friday, I returned to the house one last time. This time, I brought paperwork, a locksmith, and Derek. We parked down the street, just like old times. Except this time, I wasn't sneaking in. I was taking everything back. The door was locked. Of course it was. But I own the house. The locksmith got us in within minutes. Kayla wasn't home. The place was still. A few canvases leaned against the walls. Beer bottles on the table. Someone had written Vibe Zone in permanent marker across the fridge. There was a mattress on the floor of the guest room, probably Troy's. I didn't see any of my things. She had scrubbed me out of my own home. But she forgot one thing. The law still knew my name. I changed the locks, installed the cameras, signed off with the locksmith. Then I walked through the house one last time, room by room. Every broken light, every trashed wall, every burned countertop. I photographed everything. My lawyer said the damage would help in small claims court if she pushed back. And then, in the living room, I found it. A crumpled canvas tucked behind the couch. Olivia's mural. Torn. Painted over in patches, like Kayla had tried to use it as a drop cloth. I stood there for a long time. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Then I rolled it up, carefully, slowly, and carried it outside with me. We left the house that night, not with anger, but with proof. The next morning, I posted one thing on Facebook. No drama. No story. Just a photo of the deed. Caption. Still mine. Always was. It blew up in hours. People started deleting their comments under Kayla's posts. A few issued public apologies. One even admitted they'd been duped by the vibes. Someone reposted a screenshot of the rental listing Kayla had made for the house. Suddenly, her story didn't add up anymore. She posted a shaky follow-up video the next day, voice trembling. So, yeah, there's been a lot of misunderstanding. But, family's complicated, and I just wanted to create something meaningful. And now I'm being dragged. And it's really unfair because I'm still grieving my mom. I watched it once. Then I closed the app. I didn't need her to grovel. I didn't need revenge. I just needed my life back. And now I had it. Later that week, my lawyer served her with a bill for the damages. She texted me 3 times after that. Can we talk? I didn't know it would go this far. You didn't have to make it public. I didn't answer. Because she did. She made it public the moment she told the world a lie about me. And now, she could sit in it. Word counts so far. 1, 270. Next section coming now to finish Chapter 4 with emotional closure and a final, unexpected confrontation. Chapter 4 continued. 2 weeks passed before I saw her again. I was at the house, repainting the living room walls. The music was off, the air still. I had Olivia's old playlist running on my phone. Instrumental jazz, the kind she'd play while baking. The scent of fresh paint replaced the cloying stench of vape juice and cheap body spray. For the first time in what felt like years, the house felt like ours again, mine and Olivia's. Not hers and Kayla's ghosts. That's when I heard it, the front door rattling. A key trying to turn in a lock that no longer matched. Then a knock. Dad. Her voice was small, hesitant, not the booming confidence she used online. I didn't answer. I let her sit with the silence. I kept rolling the paint over the wall, slow and steady. She knocked again. Dad, please. Just 5 minutes. I set the roller down and walked to the door. I opened it. Not wide, just enough to see her. She looked different. No makeup. Hoodie pulled low. Her eyes were puffy, like she hadn't been sleeping. She held a plastic toad in her arms. Her artwork, maybe. Or whatever she had left. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. You're not allowed inside anymore. That's already been filed with the county. She swallowed hard. I know. I wanted to explain. I nodded slowly. Okay, explain. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it, she said, her voice cracking. I thought you were bluffing. You thought wrong. I was just trying to make something mine, she said. Everything's always been about you and Mom. This house, this family. I just wanted to be part of something. You were part of it, I said quietly, until you tried to take it by force. She looked away. I messed up, she said. I know. But you didn't have to humiliate me. No, I said firmly. You humiliated yourself. I gave you chances, more than I should have. And instead of seeing that as love, you saw it as weakness. She blinked fast. Her hands shook. The tote trembled in her arms. I'm not asking to move back in, she whispered. I wanted to drop these off. Some of Mom's things. I found them in Troy's storage. I didn't throw them out. I couldn't. She held out the tote. I hesitated, then took it. Inside. Olivia's favorite mug. a notebook with her recipes, a CD labeled Mom's Voice Messages. I stared at the CD for a long time. Kayla was crying now, quiet, silent tears she tried to blink away. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," she said. "I just wanted you to know I didn't forget her." "I didn't forget you. I got carried away." I nodded. "Thank you for bringing these back." She stepped back. I'll go now," she said, turning away. I watched her walk to her car. She paused before getting in, looked back once, but I didn't wave, didn't call her name. I just stood there with Olivia's toad in my arms. And when she drove off, I went inside. I played the CD, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself cry. Not because I missed Kayla, but because Olivia's voice still knew how to find me in the dark. There was something therapeutic about scrubbing a wall that had been vandalized by your own child. It was like rewinding time, taking back control, one brushstroke at a time. I spent hours sanding paint-splattered baseboards, picking sticker residue off the fridge, pulling glitter out of the vents. The house had been bruised, but it wasn't broken. Neither was I. A few neighbors stopped by during the first week after the eviction. Most didn't say much. They just offered quiet nods, awkward pats on the back, the kind of silence that said, "We saw it all. We just didn't know what to do." One woman dropped off banana bread and whispered, "She fooled all of us, Marcus." "I'm sorry. I didn't hold it against them." Kayla had been convincing, charming, even. Olivia always said Kayla had a gift for making people feel things, for drawing them in with a story. I just never expected she'd use that gift to sell me out. The house slowly began to feel like home again. Olivia's music played softly in the background. I rehung the wedding photo in the hallway. I even hired a local artist to restore the mural, using old photos I had backed up on my laptop. The painter, kind kid, quiet, understood the assignment. "I'll keep it close to what it was," he said, laying out his sketches. "Not perfect, just true. That's all I wanted. Something true." Then came the letter. Handwritten. No return address. Just slid under the front door one afternoon while I was in the backyard. "Dad, I know I lost everything, but I didn't think I'd lose you too. I've been staying with friends. It's not great. I thought I could just move on, but I can't. Not without fixing this." Troy left. The collective fell apart. Everyone moved on but me. I keep thinking about Mom. About how proud she was of me once. I want that back. I want us back. I know I don't deserve your trust, but if there's a way to earn it, I'll wait. I'll work for it. I'll do whatever it takes. Please don't give up on me. Kay. I sat on the porch with that letter for a long time. Read it once. Then again. I didn't cry, but my hands shook. The part of me that still remembered birthday parties and bedtime stories wanted to run to her. To find her. To fix everything. But the man I had become, the man she forced me to become, knew better. That letter didn't change the past. It didn't untrash my home. It didn't put Olivia's belongings back on the shelves. It didn't erase the months I spent feeling like a trespasser in my own life. I folded the letter, tucked it into the drawer next to Olivia's recipe book. Then I changed the locks again, just in case. A few nights later, the doorbell rang. Late. Too late for anyone who had good intentions. I turned on the porch light and opened the door. Kayla stood there, alone, a duffel bag at her feet, face pale, lips chapped, eyes red. "Don't say anything," she said quickly. "Just let me ask one thing." I said nothing. She pointed to the bag. "I got a job. Entry level. Nothing fancy, but it's a start. And I have an apartment lined up, move-ins next week. I just need somewhere to stay for 5 days. That's it. Just 5. My jaw clenched. Everything in me twisted. She saw it. "I'll sleep on the porch if I have to," she said. "I swear. I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to take anything. I have nowhere else to go." I stepped outside, pulled the door shut behind me. 5 seconds of silence passed between us. Then I spoke. "You don't need the porch," I said. "You need to learn what it feels like to rebuild from the ground up." "I did. Your mother did. And now it's your turn." Her face fell. She nodded slowly, like she expected it. "I love you," I added. She looked up, startled. "But I love myself too now," I said. "And I won't give up either of us ever again." She wiped her face with her sleeve, picked up the bag, and walked away. I stood there until the street was quiet again. Not because I was watching for danger, but because, finally, I wasn't the one leaving anymore. Word count so far, 1, 280. Final section of Chapter 5 coming next, wrapping up with a deep, emotional reflection and preparing for Chapter 6. The house was never hers. Chapter 5, Conclusion. The porch light buzzed above me as I stood in that quiet night. For the first time in months, maybe years, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. Not the kind of silence you get when something's been taken from you, but the kind you choose when you finally put something to rest. I went back inside. The house smelled like paint and lemon oil. Fresh. Clean. Mine. I turned on the hallway light and looked at the mural in progress. The colors were coming back slowly. The outline of Olivia's face was already visible, gentle, strong, wise. It wasn't finished, but it didn't need to be. Neither was I. Kayla would be okay. Maybe not today. Maybe not this month. But she had the seed, the awareness. And that was enough. It had to be. Because this time, I wasn't rushing in to cushion her fall. I wasn't here to save her anymore. I was here to remember who I was before she forgot who I'd always been. Not a villain, not a guest, but the man who built this home, brick by brick, memory by memory. And this time, no one was taking it from me. I kept the front door open that morning. Not all the way, just enough for the breeze to come through and fill the house with autumn air. Olivia used to do that every October. Let the season in, she'd say, like fall was an old friend we owed an invitation. The mural was finished now. The artist, Devin, had done more than restore it. He'd honored it. The colors were bolder this time, more mature. Olivia's eyes looked just the way I remembered. Like they knew the end of every story before it began, but never spoiled the twist. I stood in the hallway and stared at her face, letting the memories move through me like music. She would have known what to do with Kayla. She always did. She had a way of cutting through noise with grace, of setting boundaries with love. I'd always tried to match that energy, but when Olivia died, I softened. I confused compassion with permission. And Kayla learned how to take advantage of that softness the way someone learns to breathe underwater, slowly, desperately, and then instinctively. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad, either. Just clear. Kayla texted me once more, the week after she left the porch. I got the apartment. It's not much, but I paid for it. On my own. Thought you'd want to know. I read it, nodded, and didn't reply. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally understood the difference between being present and being available. I could love her. I could root for her. I could want better for her. But I didn't have to sacrifice myself for her. That was the lesson. That was the cost. It took losing pieces of my home, my peace, my marriage and memory, to finally draw the line in chalk, bold and permanent. I walked through the house that morning like it was brand new. Not in design, not in structure, but in feeling. The kitchen, finally cleared of vape clouds and dirty dishes, smelled like cinnamon and lemon oil again. I had started cooking real meals, playing music, reading on the porch, reclaiming routines I had let die quietly while trying not to disturb Kayla's moods. The spare rooms were empty again. One would become an office. Another, maybe a guest room for Derek when his wife kicked him out for talking during movies. I even fixed the garden beds, pulled out the beer cans, bought new soil, replanted the lavender Olivia loved. Life was blooming again, and not because someone else had changed, but because I had. The last thing I did that morning was open Olivia's recipe book, the one Kayla had returned in the tote. Inside the back cover, in her handwriting, was a note I had forgotten. Don't let this house become just a place. It's ours because of how you love it. Keep loving it, even when it hurts. I ran my thumb over the words, gently, like they were a bruise that still stung but no longer bled. Then I closed the book, put on a fresh pot of coffee, and sat on the porch, my porch, because the truth is, the house was never hers. It was never meant to be inherited like a pair of shoes. It was built, not bought, held, not handed over. She thought I was lucky to have her, but she never understood what I gave up to keep her close. What I lost while trying to be the kind of father who stayed quiet, who let love excuse everything. I'm not quiet anymore. I'm not a guest. And I'm not sorry. Some people think love means never saying no. But sometimes the greatest love you can show, especially to your own family, is drawing a line they can't cross anymore. If you've ever had to walk away from someone you raised, someone you poured everything into, just to save yourself, I see you. Share your story in the comments. Let's talk about what it means to take your power back without guilt.